Hello and good morning, everybody. How are you all doing? This is Jeremiah. I'm going to go ahead and click my little start here and get that PowerPoint started up. As you can tell, we are having a webinar today on FXCAD 2017 and FX 13.0. A little bit of a, times we've split this into two webinars, and they ended up having a lot in common, and we're kind of short on their own, but they do work well together, I think, but it will end up with us being a little rushed with kind of trying to show all the new features over an entire year, obviously, because we're going to be primarily talking about FXCAD. But the reason why FXCAD is so great is because it's done by us, if I may, and so it goes very well to show why, and you'll see more of that. And so, in case you're kind of wondering why we're kind of shoehorning these two disparate topics together, so this is what we're going to cover. And speaking of questions, I'll mention that first is down the bottom of your screen. You should have a little questions box. And right in there, feel free to type in all kinds of questions. I know we're going to get a lot of questions on this. We've got Forrest and Jake here, and more if we need them. So if we're going to be able to get to your questions, I'm sure I'm going to forget to mention things or mention things too quickly. So no worries on that. Feel free to type in those questions. So what are we going to cover today? Of course, I'm going to explain what the heck is this FXCAD. So it's a big one, and particularly how does it vary from AutoCAD? Why are we talking about FXCAD instead of AutoCAD? So we got to get that out of the way, and then we're going to get into, well, what's up with 2017 version? And then after that, we will go over the land effects features. And again, I'll show you a little more. We kind of get to that a couple slides down. We'll show more of why that fits in so well in this webinar. So let's get going. What is FXCAD? First and foremost, it is for our customers. We were approached by Autodesk, and they told us about this AutoCAD OEM product, and they thought that it might work for us, and it turns out it's great. It took actually a number of months of negotiating with them to get it to work right. It's a lot of work, a lot of back and forth between us and Autodesk. But at its simplest, it's very technical-esque definition. It is a command-limited version of AutoCAD. That makes it very similar to AutoCAD LT in that AutoCAD LT is AutoCAD. It just can't do certain things. And same thing as FXCAD, but the difference is, of course, is it's sold and supported by us. Because it's sold and supported by us, it is sort of technically in kind of like a license agreement sense, of course. We can't say it's AutoCAD, of course. There are a number of other software vendors that have the same arrangement with Autodesk through their AutoCAD OEM division. And just from Autodesk's perspective, they're the ones that, that's one of their requirements is, it's no longer AutoCAD. When I first asked, I go, can we call it AutoCAD FX? I thought that would be kind of a nice name for it. And they said, yeah, just legal didn't like that. Just the nature of it is they don't want their customers confused, because they're still selling AutoCAD LT. So, they're okay with us selling it as it is. It's FXCAD. It's a genuine AutoCAD engine, and we sell it, we support it. That's what it is. And so I hope that's kind of clear. I'm still going to show it to you, and we're still going to talk more about it. But if any of that part is unclear, please start chiming in with questions. So when I say it is a command-limited version of AutoCAD, what that means is rather complex, actually. We have pretty much carte blanche power. We work with Autodesk. Like I said, the nature of, they have kind of a boilerplate agreement. Like if you were to just, contact Autodesk and say, I want to license and sell this AutoCAD OEM for my particular software product. They have the boilerplate agreement on here's what you have to disable, and here's things that you're able to enable if you want, and so on. So it's sort of a combination of that. So let me run through on the right side the sad face first. The things that are not there, which is all basically very, very similar to AutoCAD LT. We can't run the AutoLisp scripts, it can't install add-ons. Popular ones in our industry are M-Color, like the Carlson Survey add-on. It doesn't do any of the rendering or the lighting or any of the 3D stuff. We've also just simply ripped out things that I bet you didn't even know were there. These things of Autodesk 360, their cloud services, Seek, the content engine, their app manager, the material library. Inventor Fusion is a great example. That links with Inventor, which is there only if you're designing a physical product that you want to send out to a milling machine. That's straight up mechanical engineering, yet they include that in every copy of AutoCAD, and it just doesn't apply. We're not designing a single sprinkler body, we are designing an irrigation plan, so we don't need mechanical engineering only stuff. So some of those, though, of course, obviously are kind of neat. Like some of their new cloud services, they have a new thing that will automatically back up your profile so that it's a little easier to move from one install to another. Admittedly, that's nice, but what the cool thing is we can just as easily do that ourselves. So almost all of these things, like their content library, great example. Go ahead and try to search for some of the content that we offer. And you want a tree block, you want a bench block. It's just not there. It's getting there, but we are just far, far, far ahead of them for our industry. They're mostly driven by mechanical engineering and other disciplines. Landscape architecture, they don't understand. We understand it, so we take care of this stuff. What it can do everything you're going to want it to do. It's that genuine Autodesk AutoCAD engine, so it's going to open and save a DWG, of course. It's going to do any AutoCAD command. It's going to see proxy objects. You're going to be able to output to PDF. You're going to be able to output to anything. I mean, it's everything AutoCAD can do, it can do because it's AutoCAD. The beautiful thing, though, is of course the tech support is through us. So hopefully, you guys being, Land Effects cheerleaders, I hope you are, you know that we have really good tech support. I really pride our company on that, and by just being able to offer that support for the CAD engine as well, we're able to be very, sole point of support for you for all of your tech support needs. So, that all being said, so what's new with version 2017? Why should I upgrade to 2017, right? The clean title bar, I'm just going to have to show that to you in a little bit. It's going to be much easier to show you than to try to explain it. They have vastly improved the import PDF yet again. So previous, I think 2015, I believe, was the first one that could import a PDF and actually snap to the line work in there. Well, now the actual line work can come in, which is really slick. So you can import a PDF, and instead of it being this big block with maybe some lines in it, it can be the actual lines and the text and everything. That's a huge, 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 huge thing for our industry. They have upgraded most of their dialog boxes. So a lot of those frustrating dialog boxes, like I have that example there, the multi-leader, also the dim style one, were really cumbersome if you had a really long name of a dim style and you to scroll is really a pain. So you can see in that screenshot I've just made that multi-leader style dialog box very big, and so it's resizable. That's great. That's a great little improvement, and I like that. It's a great example of It's not, I mean, it's not a completely brand new AutoCAD. They haven't changed everything. They've changed some things, some little things. And so it's just always great to be able to stay on top of these little changes year to year so that it's a little better every year and you're not suddenly having to grapple with an entirely new interface by waiting 5 years to upgrade. Um, Really about the only other thing, though, I got to admit, for 2017 was the smart centerline marks. And you can dimension a center mark, and when you move the source object, the center mark also moves. That's a great example, again, of something that would work great for mechanical engineering. It can obviously it somewhat applies to our industry, but again, the other 35 things, and of those 35, even on the Autodesk website, a good 3 or 4 were actually new with 2016. So admittedly, I totally admit, 2017 is not one of those big leap years. They didn't change a lot, which is, obviously has pros and cons, but from a lot of perspectives, it's a good thing. We don't want to just pull the rug out of you and say, here it is, totally new CAD. They've changed some things, and it's a new version, which is great. Meanwhile, what have we been up to? And this is where this topic of Land Effects and FXCAD together really comes together. By offering FXCAD, it has dramatically helped us on our tech support side. It has streamlined things. We're not having to deal with people with 5-year-old AutoCAD who still are calling us because they're able to call us and saying, I'm just trying to plot this land effects plan. We get those calls. Being able to offer FXCAD is great because it's simplifying our tech support. And also, admittedly, obviously we're making some money on it too, so it's giving us more money to invest in more development. But again, look at how much we've been able to develop by tightening up our tech support load a bit. And some of these things we've been really showcasing for what new versions of AutoCAD can offer, such as M leaders is in there. I'll be able to show that. Obviously, I don't think I'm going to be able to get through actually showing every single one of these items, but do sort of chime in a question, the ones that you definitely want to see or are unfamiliar with. I'm going to do my best to show some of the ones here as best as I can. At the end where that says 280 more, so that bullet point, those are the notable new cool features. The 280 other punch list items that were addressed were kind of any combination of, clarifying a message that might be at the command line. We renamed the snap angle to X-hair angle. Obviously, of course, there's bug fixes, and that rolls right into those 68 incremental updates. These thousands of lines of code and all these changes were rolled out over 68 incremental updates over the year. That may sound like a lot, but what it means is in some cases, we went from a bug report to a fix to a recompile to posting an update in under 5 minutes. And I dare you to find a software company that is crazy enough to do that. But it's just a responsibility level that I want to offer. That I know if you hit a bug and you're down, this feature's not working, I'm going to fix it for you and I'm going to post that update. That's just what I'm going to do. That came to 27 lines of code a day, and I have a cool under the hood thing to show you of what that really means. What does that mean? It may sound like not a lot, like who couldn't write 27 lines of code a day? I'll show you. It's kind of a neat little thing. But it wasn't, of course, just code. We've added hundreds of blocks. We've colorized the vast majority of our block library. We've added a couple site amenity manufacturers. We've added an irrigation manufacturer. Obviously we've also added all kinds of documentation and videos. We've been busy. And so, we are here for you, and that's why this goes so well with FXCAD, because if we're here for you and you let us give you CAD as well, that's really a win-win, I would like to think, for both of us. I'm going to check in with Forrest real quick before I get into showing them side by side, see if there's anything I need to back up and answer any questions on.
Yeah, the only question that we had was regarding performance, because as we know, AutoCAD is a bit of a resource hog, and so one question from Boyd Coleman was regarding getting his FXCAD to run faster. And I sent him some information in the question, but maybe you can explain to everybody why they need a powerful computer to run FXCAD.
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of it has been, I'm probably going to go a little too technical, but is Autodesk is frankly still wrestling with making a version of CAD for Windows. That's what it comes down to. If you go back as far as some of us, back to using AutoCAD 12 for DOS, that was a fast AutoCAD. And it's with all the advancements in hardware and everything, a lot of things still seem slower and more sluggish than that classic AutoCAD. And that's just because of the overhead of Windows. It's difficult to make a graphically intensive thing fast in Windows. And the same industry, companion industry, having the same issue is computer games. And so that's why, though, the easiest way to have a great CAD rig is to grab a really cool game machine. And it'll be the same specs. You want a solid state drive, you want a really beefy, very fast video card, you want a lot of RAM. You don't necessarily need a really fast processor because it's mostly the RAM and the video card. And that's going to help do it. And what they've been doing lately, Autodesk, is they've been porting AutoCAD to more of the computer game engine, specifically DirectX. And that's a good thing because, again, that's making it more common with the specs for a computer game machine, the DirectX video card specifically. So the more that they're able to offload things directly to the video card, they're going to continue to be able to make AutoCAD faster and faster, and also make it easier for you to find a CAD workstation, because typically a CAD workstation is going to be really expensive, but a really good game rig will be, a solid, I would say, $1,000 less, and will be, frankly, just as good for you, if not even better. And sometimes they have cool lights on them and stuff, too. So that's a part of it, but that's another one. I'm going to leave the more complete answer to that. We have an upcoming webinar, which is going to be a lot of our tech support issues, and it's going to fit in great with that. Is optimizing your setup, and then also, of course, we have our hardware recommendations webinar coming up as well. So both of those are going to more completely answer that question. What I'm going to show now is side by side. Got our little Street Fighter graphic, FXCAD on the left versus stock AutoCAD 2017 on the right. Let's install them side by side. So you can see out of the gate, we're effectively branding an AutoCAD 2017 install. It's not this clean sheet product on our own, but we are branding it and making it relevant to you. I don't know what that heart or whatever is in the AutoCAD installer, but for us, that's an image from one of our clients. That's EDSA. It's one of their projects in Dubai. But we're going to pepper the install with some of these great photos we've gotten from clients. Just again, really conveying, hopefully, very completely. I mean, it's very tuned to landscape architecture by landscape architects for landscape architects. So hopefully that's a good thing. So let's start installing them. For FXCAD, like I said, we've ripped out all the stuff. Like you see in the bottom of the dialog box there, right, where it says disk space required, where on the left, FXCAD is going to require 3 gigabytes, and then on the right, stock AutoCAD is going to require 4.73 gigabytes. You know, and you might think, oh, whatever, what's 1.73? It's a lot. It's a lot of stuff. Like I said, and some of these things are running all the time, like the content library and the update programs and all these things. And so even a little bit in terms of speeding up your CAD, we're removing quite a bit of stuff from a default AutoCAD install. And so FXCAD is undoubtedly, out of the gate faster than stock AutoCAD. But in terms of those options, like what if you personally didn't want those options? So that's what's nice is this little presentation I'm showing right here is I'm just going to roll both these installs through with the default options. And so you can see on the right with AutoCAD, they only give you a couple things you can uncheck, recap and A360 desktop. Keep that in mind because I'm going to show you something in a couple of slides. So we get to go in again, we're still just showing, some fun little photos. And again, on the AutoCAD side, it's a warp drive or something. I don't know. So they get installed, and you can see there was a lot more that AutoCAD installed that it didn't even give you the chance to uncheck. It just loads you up with all this stuff. And I just personally think it's not necessary, like that performance reporting tool. I don't think I would prefer myself to not report to AutoCAD what tools I'm clicking on over what hour frame. I can't necessarily recall of anything they've rolled out that they said was due to harvesting all of that knowledge. So I mean, I've told them repeatedly. I tell Autodesk every year the feature that I want is a multi-user support so that multiple people can edit the same DWG file. That would be a great little addition. All these other little things they've added, I feel aren't that applicable to our industry. So that's why we don't have them for FXCAD. So we've trimmed that up. Interestingly enough, the AutoCAD install doesn't include Service Pack 1. So you have to separately find. We were actually, when we were shooting these screenshots, we could not figure out how it was going to tell us that we needed to download Service Pack 1. We couldn't find it. I know we might have just been missing something simple, but you look at what's running here on the right. You've got the AutoCAD desktop app. That its purpose is to check for updates, and yet it was not notifying us of a Service Pack 1 being available. Also, the A360 is running, and so all these things are running, and whatever these AutoCAD components are, like I said, that's a lot of the services, a lot of their new cloud services are just sitting there running, reporting back that you're using AutoCAD, of course, but also just I don't know what they're doing. I certainly don't use them. Whereas we've ripped all that out here on the FXCAD side. First of all, that is the Service Pack 1 version. We've bundled that into our installer. One huge additional tedious step that's not required. And all that additional stuff is just not running. So it's a very clean install of AutoCAD. And so we fire them up. The one thing I did change here, admittedly, on the bottom there for FXCAD, I changed the theme, the color theme, to the light color theme to make these next few slides a little easier to follow. So you can see also when it first pops up, a lot of things have been tweaked. We've tweaked at the bottom. Like the coordinates is turned on. Default AutoCAD install coordinates is not turned on. We have the command bar docked. Default AutoCAD, it's this floating command bar, which I don't like. They also have these little doodads they've been adding to the screen, which I don't like. You can still turn them on in FXCAD. I just don't like them getting in my way. We also turned on the properties window. And we really customized the ribbon. I've got a couple slides here to really show the differences in the ribbon. And I know a lot of people say, oh, they like the classic look. They're a classic person. I hear you, and I agree. And the issue was the ribbon, the default AutoCAD ribbon, was just not very usable. It needed help, and we've given that help. So give this a second, and we'll take a look at what we've done with the ribbon. For instance, the home panel for AutoCAD. Things like the layer dropdown, you should not have to always click on home to get to layers. And these also really common things, moving and copying, they're these little buttons, and it's just, you have these little caret buttons next to draw and modify to access more things, those little drop down triangles. Well, for our FXCAD ribbon, you can see that for the most part, we've been very consistent in removing those little drop down triangles. We left it only for groups because we just left groups exactly as it is, assuming that most people would probably just right click and turn groups off. But if you wanted it, it's there. But these other ones, look at how we consistently have gone with big buttons. We've also put important things like the layer drop down here into the quick access toolbar. I've got layer freeze, layer previous, I've got explode, layer properties. I've got all my real heavy usage things here in my quick access toolbar, and plenty of more room for you to customize this and add more. So you're not giving up the quote-unquote classic look. A lot of that classic look is still right here, but you're going to benefit from the coolness of the ribbon. Other things, for instance, XList, that is an express tool, and we have moved it, well, copied it, to where it belongs, which we think is really important. So let me cut through these ribbons here so we can get going. On the insert ribbon, this was a huge change. On the default AutoCAD insert ribbon, how long, I want to see if you can point out to me, how do you insert a PDF? Remember, this is a brand new feature that they're highlighting, that AutoCAD 2017 can highlight a PDF. All right, we've got PDF import right there. Fair enough. But I don't know, I think it's just hard to find. Now, granted, it's red, but what we've done is we have big buttons, and it's just very consistent. Oh yeah, I want to put in an XREF, I want to put in an image, I want to put in a PDF, I want to put in a DGN. These are the sorts of things I'm bringing in as a landscape architect. We've really made this about inserting, which is what it is. And so we really just kind of felt that a lot of this was jumbled and in a weird order, and it was hard to find things. Similarly, annotate. This is what we're using CAD for. We are annotating primarily. And so again, look at our emphasis on big buttons, and we don't have the little crow's feet button, which they have to get to the managers. The managers are right in here. So if I want to insert text, there's my text style. If I want to insert a multi-leader, here's my multi-leader style. Here's my dimension, here's my dimension style. Nice big button, easy to get to, very understandable. We've also, again, we've incorporated the express tools in here, so the arc-aligned text is going to be right underneath multi-line text. I'm not going to have to click over to express tools to find a text tool there. They're right here in the primary annotate ribbon. So the one other one I'll show, and then I'm, just to really kind of take this home with the ribbon. When we talk manage, here's another good one. When we think of manage, I think of I have my AutoCAD options. I want to manage those styles. I want to manage my units. That's something to manage. Am I in feet or inches? That's kind of an important thing to me to manage. I have drawing cleanup issues, so I have a whole cleanup panel. The default manage ribbon is, it's got a theme which apparently is really more customization. I don't see how that's managed. That looks like customization to me. But that's another fun one is, okay, how about this? Where is the button for AutoCAD options? And that's a trick question because that is not in the default ribbon for manage from AutoCAD. They have it, I think, in view. I think it's the crow's foot for one of the on the view ribbon. But we felt on manage, you manage your AutoCAD options. That just was a no-brainer to us. So again, we're just taking CAD, and it's like if you just gave someone AutoCAD and gave them a couple of months to tweak the heck out of it, that's what FXCAD is. So before I explain all these the pricing and support comparison, I will stop to ask Forrest again if there's any questions on that.
We got a couple of questions regarding Macs. People were wondering when LandFX or FXCAD was going to be available for Mac, and they noticed that we're using Parallels to run it on the Mac. So maybe you could explain a little bit better of why we can't release it for Mac yet due to those restrictions.
Yeah, the main issue with Mac is that AutoCAD Mac is really it's technically not AutoCAD. It's a CAD program. It's Mac CAD is what it is. Happens to be sold by Autodesk. Happens to be able to read and write DWG files, but so do a lot of CAD programs. Um, and they've been doing a very heroic job in getting it to be more and more common with PC AutoCAD, but they're still not the same product, and they still don't have the same capability for us to have our plugin with the same source code bolt on to either. And so if we would be looking at a complete port, the same as if it was for MicroStation or for GIS. If we've had requests for us to bring LandFX over to Revit. Same thing there too. So we can't just say, okay, here's LandFX for Revit. It would take a very, very large port operation, and same for AutoCAD for Mac. The future is promising as things are getting better, but at the same time, AutoCAD is not the only PC-only program that you need to run. PC SketchUp is hands down better than Mac SketchUp, and ArcGIS is only a PC program. There is no Mac version. There are other programs that are only PC, and so like us, we use Parallels to run the programs that we need to run, that we just have to run, but we're not giving up the Mac. We have literally the best of both worlds. So obviously in the future, we do want a Mac native client. We just don't want to have to rewrite hundreds of thousands of lines of code to do that. So, we're going to have to see what we can do in that regard. Anyway, so that hopefully answered that. In terms of pricing and support, here's the comparison. AutoCAD is now only available as an annual subscription, so that's $1,400 a year each and every year that you want it to continue running. Their support is an additional $160 a year. You get to call people in exotic locations like Costa Rica and India. Ask them what they had for lunch or dinner. It's kind of cool. It's like a way of traveling the world for free. They told me telephone hold times were typically 2 to 10 minutes. But that was a very, very painful correspondence. I can only imagine the tech support is similarly painful. I'm trying very hard to not bag on Autodesk too much, and I hope anyone is not thinking I am. But as a business owner and as a business owner of a software company, I would never, ever, ever outsource my tech support. That is, to me, a colossally bad decision. I've got 6 people here, and when they come across a problem, they walk over and they tell me, and we have a meeting, and we push out an update that day. We get documentation written, we keep it in-house, and we provide excellent, excellent support, and it's tightly integrated with development. And I would never, ever even consider doing it differently, and I can't imagine someone with, as far as I'm concerned, in comparison, unlimited resources doing it differently. So I'm going to try to limit my critique of their business decisions to that, but that is, to me, how we create such a good product. That product is a perpetual license, so you pay that $19.95. We do have our annual Black Friday sale. Even if that $19.95 scares you, we do have a nice little discount off of that if you want to hold out for that. That locks you in with a $250 a year upgrade to each new version. And just trying to really be clear with all the fees you're looking at, there is a $50 legacy activation. So, basically it's in terms of, as a lot of people say, because I know this question is pending, I bet it just popped up to Forrest. People are going to go, what happens if I don't pay the $250? Well, it's just basically, well, yeah, I mean, if you don't pay the $250, you might be looking at a $50 legacy activation. We're processing a lot of those right now. People with FXCAD 2015 who did not pay the $250 to upgrade to 2016. And then Windows 10 update happens, and now they have to reactivate. We have a $50 activation fee because that's all part of that very meticulous and careful negotiation with Autodesk on how do we still have a perpetual license. And from their perspective, and I was fully sympathetic with them, is they're not getting a lot of money from us, with this $250 a year. And so part of that agreement with them is in activating and processing those license activations. There's also a fee for that if you're 2 versions back or more. So if you now that we've released 2017, long story short, what is not legacy is 2017 and 2016. Those we can, if you need to reinstall, we can reactivate that for free. But if you've chosen to not take advantage of this incredible price to get the new version of CAD for only $250 a year, there's going to possibly be other fees down the road. But you might also make out like a champ. You could just buy FXCAD outright for $19.95 full retail, and it just keeps running and works great. And 5 years later, you buy that version for full retail $19.95. That can happen, and in which case you are saving way, way, way more money than if you bought AutoCAD from Autodesk. In both cases, you're still paying your LandFX renewal. Remember, FXCAD is for LandFX customers. That is absolutely part of the agreement with Autodesk. We do not sell FXCAD on its own. It is for our customers. So you have LandFX and you would like to have your CAD engine through us, their support through us, all that cool, everything you've seen, all the ribbon, all that stuff. So that is the PowerPoint. I am going to go ahead and fire it up. I mean, you kind of want to see what it looks like, I imagine, right? So let's fire up FXCAD, and maybe, Forrest, is there a question I need to address before showing anything?
Think there are any more questions coming in at this time for you? Yeah.
Okay, so we fired it up. Here it is, FXCAD. Um, like I said, it's got that swanky ribbon that we've customized. We still have, full customization capability. Here's the CUI interface. I'm able to, migrate over my custom settings. I'm able to customize the interface however I wish. I'm able to open and save anything. This is straight up, AutoCAD engine. I've got, whoops, sorry about that. Promised I wouldn't do that, and then I did. I've got all my AutoCAD save as ability, printing ability. I mean, I've got my full up AutoCAD engine all ready to go. And then rolls right in to all my cool LandFX stuff. So I guess one of the things I can do then is show some of these new LandFX features. So let me kind of zip through some of those. One is we went through and updated a lot of our ribbon buttons. Some of the notable ones are like the scale. The look of that is a little cleaner. The little railing fences here is a little cleaner. The X-hair angle has a thinner line. Real minor, and that also is a great example. We don't change everything around just to call it a new version. So that was just one of the things we did this last year. We also, I'm going to need to open up a file here to show all these other things. So let me go in here and I will just simply draw a polyline, because I'm going to need a polyline. And let's see if I can find it. Here in my callouts, we're going to be adding a ribbon button for it, but we made an area callout. And that's where I can just simply pick on a polyline and it drops it in and puts the area of that object. And let me tweak this a little. And if I just simply do a regen, it won't be 86.57 anymore. It'll be 84 even. So that's pretty cool, right? This is also a M leader, which is really handy. So we're starting the process of converting everything over to M leaders. So that is a really cool thing. Ref Notes is a dockable palette. That was something we did this year. So now Ref Notes is a palette. Detail Manager is also a palette, as well as Planting, which was done the previous year. So having all of these as a palette is really handy and gives a lot of additional capability. We had a minor one. This is the one where I get to show a little source code if everyone's ready to see something kind of slick. We had a request to this as people go, when I go to place a ground cover, I have to pick a hatch or pick a polyline to hatch. And they go, what if the polyline's not there yet? So the request was a D option to be able to draw that polyline on the fly. Pretty cool request. I want to say that was Eric Stanley. I can't remember exactly who who thought of that. I know we have it logged somewhere. Anyway, that was a great request, and the thing I like about that is that was very close to 27 lines of code to pull off. So I'm going to show you what a request like that looks like under the hood. And I won't belabor the code too much because I'm sure it's going to look Greek. Here is the place hatch function. And what it came down to is here's the basic while loop of looping for selecting something, all rolled up into this get next function. So while we are clicking on a polyline or an interior point, or of course pressing a keyboard command like D for draw. So that meant I go, okay, I'm going to need to look at this get next function. And that meant I had to come in here and kind of see what we have going on. This is an old function, so it has very, very few comments, which is bad. And so it's hard working on these older functions that are not commented up enough. But basically, it looks like there's the keyboard selection here for the M or E, and for M for multiple, E for exclude, and then down here was where it finally does the processing of whether we have a point or no point. See the comments, you can see how helpful the points are. I mean, even for me, I wrote this code, but this is confusing. Like, what is it doing here? Oh, it's processing an entity, or there's no entity, it's an internal point. So it's all about the comments. That's what helps even us programmers figure out where the heck we are. So in looking at that, what we ended up doing was this. So here's what I changed that code to, is we had the keyboard option for draw. We have M, we have E, added one for D for draw, and offloaded to this function. Well, I'm going to need to draw a polygon. And similarly, we thought, well, why do you have to hit D? Why not just click a point? So we tacked that on here as well. So when I click an internal point, it can also draw a poly. And no, it's not just that. It took a little more than typing in draw poly. Here's that draw poly, which, like I said, was about 27 lines of code. So basically, here's what it took to draw that polygon on the fly. It took a few attempts. Ended up basically doing a little technique where set the current entity color to 1. Red, set the current entity color to red, and as each point is clicked, it makes that polyline. and then as it clicks the next point, it actually deletes that polyline and draws a new one. And so the way that looks again, just to kind of show it, so that means if I click a point, it'll start drawing a polygon. So there is my current entity color of red, which lets me see what I'm doing. And you don't even notice, but each time I click, it's going to delete that 2-segment polyline and draw a 3-segment one on top of it. You don't even notice it. And I can even right-click there and it'll close it for me. So that was a really nice little enhancement. And just, again, someone thought of that, suggested it, and we rolled that out. I mean, the list goes on. I'm going to try to just bang out a few of these and just show them as just some of the many things that we've rolled out over this last year. For instance, as I do a new work area, I'll just say, area 1 has a layer suffix now. So I'll put a layer suffix of A1. So if I have my work area over here, if I now do the thing I just showed again, I'm going to draw my ground cover over here. You can see that this hatch has that layer suffix -A1, which is really cool. That makes it very easy to isolate these a little easier. If I freeze him, it's only going to freeze him, not these over here. So that is a pretty slick one. We added a lot of new layers. That was another thing that we did. So here in my layer manager, let's give that a teeny second to pop up. And I say a lot, but not too crazy. I'm just going to show, like in here is where it sure looks like a lot. We used to have all of our irrigation heads just simply placed on li-head. Now you can see, obviously, it's splaying out, so turf rotors are placed on this layer. Now you're certainly welcome to rename both of these layers to both be the same if you want all of your rotors on the same layer, but obviously that's going to be very helpful for freezing layers and isolating things. So that was a fairly big change. We held on to that one for a while before we just pushed that out. And the same for planting. We did the if I can find that quickly enough. Yeah, it was right here. For alphanumeric symbols, the text inside the alphanumeric symbol is now on its own layer. LK AnnoCode shrub and LK AnnoCode tree. So making that also easier to freeze and control. So little things like that. Again, a lot of these things, little tweaks here and there. Not necessarily, giant. We have our little spot elevation changes where I have my little shortcut here because I'm actually still in the middle of testing that one, where we have a whole new dialog box and I can do multiple points. So I can say, this is going to be 10 below grade, I don't know, and 12 top of wall, right? And I have all these styles for my spot elevation, which is really cool, but I want it to be this one, and I can drop him in and pops right back up to do the next point. But this too is a multi-leader with a background mask. You can see how it's masking out the XREF. So it's very easy to grab him and move him if necessary. So that's pretty slick. So that was a big one. That's actually, like I said, we're just finishing up the last bit of that. So if you try to do that on your own right now, you won't see what you just saw. That is literally going out with the last little bit of 13.0 later today. So that's the one thing that I'll be showing that you can't actually see right now on your own. We did a cool thing with a polyline. I'm going to grab, let me just see here. In my, I don't know, I'll grab a boulder. How about that? I was going to try this one. So I'm going to grab a boulder, put him in here. And if I say, and I didn't test this, so I hope I do this right. Copy along a polyline, I pick my boulder, and I want a random rotation. And so, do these about every good 4 meters, and pick my polyline. So you can see it is randomly rotating them, as well as, since I picked a dynamic block, it should be randomly varying the boulder itself. Boop. Let's just see if it did. Yeah. So you can see this boulder is definitely different than that one, and they're randomly rotated as they go along. So that's pretty handy. Maybe I could have tightened that up a little bit, but I think you get the idea of some possibilities there. With ref notes, I did show that they have the has the dockable palette. But the other thing that we did, which was huge, like I said, this is an M leader now, which is really nice. So that's easier to control. I can like add a leader very quickly, which is a really slick part of an M leader. Or I can remove a leader. I thought I said remove. Oh, you know, I can remove. There we go. Remove a leader and remove that one. Oh, I never said, I will go away. There we go. Just had to click on it, right? Um, but we also added embedded data for these, which is slick. What that means is if I go ahead and I delete this from my project, even though I have this warning, uh-oh, he's deleted, and I'm going to even force a reload here, so I don't want to have to close the drawing and reopen it just to get a full fresh image here. So it is definitely not over here, but if I go ahead and edit him, there it is. It brought him back from the dead, basically, and there he is. He's back. So that was really slick. The minor overhead, of course, of getting that data embedded in here will make the drawing a little bit bigger, but believe me, it's totally acceptable for that. And it is only a teeny bit bigger. We kind of were hitting ourselves for for not doing that earlier. It was something we've been planning on doing for a while, but as you still want to keep a tight hold of your LFX backup files, but basically we're making those less and less necessary to get the data also embedded in the drawing. That's just another great direction we're going. I want to show detail enlargement really quick because I'm really happy with it. I think this was my good example. So you have a detail, right? And maybe this area here you need to show an enlargement of. Let me get this out of the way, give ourselves some room. Well, we have improved our detail enlargements. This took quite a bit of work. So I'm going to do a circle enlargement in this area right here. I would like enlarged. And I have keyboard commands, like it says, Q and E, to adjust my scale. So I'm going to hit Q and E, and I can go through my scales, see how big of enlargement I really want to do. That's obviously for this example, that's a bit egregiously big, but I just want to, as an example, show you how cool that is. So you can see it grabbed everything. It did not grab the dimensions. But let's see here. That is 302 millimeters from there to there. Oh, I didn't quite grab the edge of it, so I better do it this way. Let me go ahead and just dimension this guy here to show you. So that's 140 millimeters. And if I dimension the exact same thing over here inside the enlargement, it's 140 millimeters, although obviously this is much bigger. So it's applying that linear multiplier inside of this enlargement area when you dimension. Not to mention the fact that it grabbed all of this stuff in here, disregarded the dimension objects, copied them, enlarged them, and trimmed them. It did a lot, and I hope you guys like that. That took a lot of work, and we're very proud of it. We added some command line tools like FXRef to take over the process of XREFing and SuperJoin. Both of those have power tips on, so I'm just going to skip those. We improved the plant data window so that when I edit a plant, it's right here. And we even added the ability for custom fields. So if you have additional fields you're interested in seeing, let us know. We are tweaking this plant database very heavily over the next year. So that was a big change. We did a thing with plant labels, letting them reassociate. So this is an interesting one. Um, let's just say here, for instance, I have this label is pointing to those two plants. And so I'm going to grab that and use the AutoCAD copy command and copy them over here. See, and here's the thing, is since I copied, whoa, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to do that. Since I copied them, the problem is that this label is pointing to those. I literally copied the label. So that's kind of a problem. And then what can happen is people might copy the whole plan and then say, okay, I'm going to be using this copy over here, then flat out delete these. Uh-oh. So now we have a bit of a bugaboo where this label, the old way, if I click verify labels, it's going to delete it because this label is pointing to two plants that have been deleted. Well, we added a whole bunch of code in there. So now if I click verify labels and it will chug and it does its little thing, oh, and it still deleted it. I'm just going to move on. But it might be because this is an older plan. I'm kind of curious what I might have done something wrong with how I copied it. Well, that's what it's supposed to do. So as you can imagine, we'll kind of take that back into the lab and make sure that does work. But that's what it's supposed to address. It is still, like as you can see, it's not a recommended technique to copy a label with plants using the AutoCAD copy command. But we tried to address that, and it does in situations. I might have just done it a little wrong, but like I said, I will tweak that, and you'll see that on a future update. A lot of the rest is irrigation. I'm going to show just a couple quick irrigation things. I bet there's a couple questions still, so I want to be very fast. I see we're about running out of time, but if I just pull up my irrigation plan here, one of them was just another command, locate valve. Was a fun one. Shows me all my valves. I'll just pick one. There he is. So that's pretty slick. That was valve 16. We added emitter families. So if I was to go into here and add a new drip emitter, we also added Bowsmith as a manufacturer. So that was another new thing. After I pick an emitter and a pressure, I have emitter families. So for that particular equipment, I have all these symbol options. And all these symbols you can see have masks. We did that for all irrigation symbols across the whole system, upgrading a couple thousand symbols. So that was pretty huge. And lastly, we upgraded the delete station dialog box, which is pretty nice. I'm going to pick, I don't know, this guy here. But so this making it a little more clear, what do I want to delete, and a link to help. So I can even do everything, including the valve, wipes it all out, even including the valve callout, and set the undo marker, of course, so I can bring it all right back. So you know what? I'm going to pause right there. We have 1 minute left, but we'll of course run over if we need to. How about questions?
Well, there's a great comment from our good friend Steve Cook mentioning when you referenced earlier that FXCAD doesn't accept Lisp and such, but what if people have some code that they like, they can send it to us, and what would you do with it?
I would do it. I'm going to show you one of my favorite ones. I had someone say, oh, I have this routine called circle to poly, and he would have to type C2P, to turn a circle into a polygon so that he could hatch it. And I go, really? That's interesting. And I go, what if I just integrated that with our place hatch? So if you click on a circle, it just converted it to, oh, I'm sorry, that just flat out hatched the circle. I'm sorry, I need a, a something that needs it to be a poly, like a ground cover. I'm so sorry. Here we go. Boop. Yeah. Hatch will just hatch it. There we go. Now it's, oh wait, now that's still a circle. All right, now I might have to, that is integrated in there, is the ability to do the circle to poly. Um, and I'll have to see, I wonder if it is maybe it's just the drip area. I'm going to try one last try here before I make a total fool of myself here. Was it for the drip areas? There we go. That's what it was. I'm so sorry. So for the drip areas, it needs that outside area to be a polyline. And so I just integrated that in to the placing hatch. So you might have some cool Lisp. Let us know what it is. We had another one, which was this clean export, which automates that AEC to ACAD command with all the preferred command line options. That was another good example of one. So let us know what those little Lisps are, and I bet if we don't have something that does it, as you've seen, we will happily just roll that in because it just is going to make Land Effects and of course FXCAD even better. So any other questions for us?
I think that's the gist of it. I think that's it.
All right, well, I think that is the gist of it. So hopefully that really showed you the kind of 1-2 combo punch here of FXCAD and Land Effects and everything that it offers. We do have that Black Friday sale coming up, so it's pretty much a steal at that price. So stay posted for that. Otherwise, if you think of other questions, if you want a trial of FXCAD, we can do that as well. And otherwise, please keep those suggestions coming because as you can see, everything here, everything I've shown came from suggestions from y'all, and I really appreciate that help. Other than that, have a fantastic weekend.